Good day. We will now continue with the next topic under structural analysis, statics of rigid bodies, which is the method of section. Now, to those who would like to visit again how to do method of joints, you can refer to lecture video number 1. But to those who have a better grasp already on how to do method of joints, we can now proceed to the method of sections. Now, unlike the method of joints where it uses the first two equilibrium equation for coplanar concurrent force system, which is summation of forces x is equal to 0 and summation of forces y is equal to 0, for the method of sections we will be using the next equilibrium equation, which is summation of moment is equal to 0. So, just like lecture video number 1, at the end of this session, you guys are expected to show how to determine the forces in the members of a truss using, this time, the method of sections. And next lecture video will be focusing on the forces acting on the members of frames and machines. Okay, method of sections. Now, there are cases wherein we need to find a force in only a few members of a truss. We can analyze the truss using the method of sections. Now, what we did in the method of joints is we will be doing equilibrium equation for every joint so that we can determine the forces that will manifest in each of the member. However, there are certain problems that gives you a truss so big with so many members, but only look for the forces that will manifest in a few of its members. So with time restrictions, you cannot do method of joints for that kind of problem where, again, the final answer will only account to a few members. So a new technique was developed, which is the method of section. Now, this is based on the principle that if the truss is in equilibrium, then any segment of the truss is also in equilibrium. Now, for example, looking at the figure here on the right, consider the two truss members shown on the right. If the forces within the members are to be determined, then an imaginary section indicated by the blue line can be used to cut each member. So which is this one? If this is our imaginary, we can cut that. This piece, let's call it number 1, and this is number 2. So after applying the a cut, we can generate this member and then that member. Okay. This can be used to cut each member in two parts and thereby expose each internal force as an external to the free body diagrams shown on the right. So this is now our new free body diagram. Now clearly, it can be seen that equilibrium requires that the member in tension to be subjected to a pull, whereas the member in compression is subjected to a push. Okay, so if one single member, such as this one for our member, let's call this A, B, and then the cut here, we call it AC. If this member AB is subjected into a compression, if we cut here at point C, this becomes now AC and CB. The new segments will also be in compression to satisfy the equilibrium condition. Now, if a truss is in equilibrium, then each of its segments is in equilibrium. Now, the internal forces in the members become external forces when the free body diagram of a segment of the truss is drawn. A force pulling on a member causes tension in the member, and a force pushing on a member causes compression. Now, this is, again, the widely accepted procedure, but if you guys are able to look for procedures that is for you is best suited and you find it more convenient for you, then I'm all for it. However, you just have to make sure that the new procedure is mathematically correct and logically correct. Okay, so for this example lang, the forces in the members of the trust may be determined by the method of sections following the procedure provided. Now, first and foremost, you have to make a free body diagram. Make a decision on how to cut or how to section the trust through the members where forces are to be determined. So say for example, this our figure on the left, let's say our task is to find the forces that manifest in BC, GC, and GF. So if we did method of sections, usually we'll start at point A, right? Then we're able to get AB, AAG, and then move to joint B, and then eventually we're able to get BC, GC, and GF. However, for method of sections, we can just cut the section here. So we'll have two sections, this part here and this part. So this is part 1, section 1, and then section 2. Whatever section are you going to use, whether section 1 or section 2, you will still end up with the same answer. Now, before isolating the appropriate section, it may first be necessary to determine the trust's support reactions. So for this case, we have a roller here at E, so that's perpendicular, and a hinge at D. So we'll have, this is EX, and then this is DX, and then let's assume that this is the direction of DY. Now, if this is done, then the 3 equilibrium equations will be available to solve for member forces at the section. Next, draw the free body diagram of that segment of the section truss which has the least number of forces acting on it. Use one of the two methods described above for establishing the sense of the unknown member forces. So we have section 1 here, B, and then C here. And then we can now use the equilibrium equations. Moments should be assumed about a point that lies at the intersection of the lines of action of two unknown forces so that the third unknown force can be determined directly from the moment equation. So for this, if let's say we do section 1, which is figure B, item 1 here under equations of equilibrium states that it is best to do the moment at the point that lies at the intersection of the lines of action of two unknown forces. So for this, it is best to do equilibrium equation, summation of moment at point C. It's because the line of action of force BC and force GC passes through point C, so therefore they will not cause a moment about point C. Because again, if you want to have a moment, there has to be perpendicular distance. So we do moment, summation of moment at C is equal to 0, and then we'll have two forces, the 1000 Newton force and the unknown GF. Okay, so we can now solve that. Now another is, we can also, after getting GF, we can now proceed to do another moment. So the next strategic point that we can do moment is at G, because the line of action of GF passes through G, and the line of action of GC passes through G as well. So therefore, if we do moment summation, only the unknown BC will be reflected in that equation. So we can now solve for BC. And next is, you can decide as to where you will do the next moment summation. You can have it at point B here. Okay, so since we're able to get GF already when we did moment summation at C, so whether we do moment summation at B, it will give us an answer for GC. It's because GF here is known already. Now, if you might say that, where should I place GC? Now, for GC, you just have to follow the principle of transmissibility, meaning you can have the x and y component of GC here. You can have it here. This is FGCY and FGCX. So you can get the x component of GC because the y component of GC, if you put it at G, passes through point B, right? Also, you can have it, again, following the principle of transmissibility, you can have it here at point C. This is FGCY and FGCX. So, if you do moment summation at B and you put your FGC at point C, so only the y component of GC will be reflected because the x component of GC at point C passes through point B. Okay? Now, if two of the unknown forces are parallel forces, forces may be assumed perpendicular to the direction of these unknowns to determine directly the third unknown force. Yeah, that's another process as well. Okay, so I will be providing numerous examples also for method of section. So please check out the videos for those examples. If you have questions, feel free to reach out via chat or via email.